What's going on, everyone? Smith here, and I guess this is part 2 to my complaints about Arcane Season 2, because some people in the comments in my previous video were talking about things that were good in Season 2 that were not good, not just in my comments, but also online, on the social medias and what have you. They were talking about things. They're like, oh, well, this part was good. Or, oh, the only reason it was bad because of this. And so I want to talk about some of that. Because there's a lot more. Like, that first video I posted was just my fresh thoughts. Coming off the season, I was pretty scattered and I was just really frustrated. And the more time I've had to think about it and digest this show, the more annoyed I've gotten. So we're gonna talk about one of the things I've been seeing probably the most, and that is, oh, if they just had more time, it would have been better. And well, there are elements in the show, like the whole Grogu kid thing, that Isha, right? That could work, but you need to change like major points in the story to make it work. And the same goes for a lot, like, and that's why I don't know if more time is necessarily going to make it better. Like future Victor, if that is the linchpin of the story, which it is, unfortunately, Victor, lest we forget, like if you completed season 2, or you can't be bothered to watch it, in which case I don't blame you. But essentially, the guy that Jace meets or runs into in the snow, that's not Rise. That's Victor from the future. And he sends him back with a little rune gem thing. Or rune stone thing. And he also runs into him again when him, Echo, and Heimerdinger all get sent to parallel realities, which the parallel realities thing is another thing we're going to need to talk about, because that is a whole other can of worms. But just on the future Victor thing, if he can time travel, then why doesn't he just go back at like the obvious? There's so many obvious answers. This is why introducing time travel in storytelling is never a good idea, because there are so many obvious solutions to all the problems that it can be done. Time travel can be done well. Okay, there are shows and stories that do time travel well, but it's hard. And you need to be a really good writer to do time travel well. And these people are not good writers. And as I said, I don't know how these are the same people at all associated with season 1. Apparently, the writing staff, I don't know if I mentioned this in my previous video, but apparently I heard that the writing staff got cut down drastically from like a room full of people to like 1 or 2 or 3. So if that's true, that makes total sense. But regardless, the people responsible for season 2 are not capable of writing time travel well, obviously, because you have Victor, who can time travel, and it's like, okay, so go travel back in time, and he can time travel himself. You can't argue that, oh, well, he can't time travel back in time to see himself. He can only send people through time travel. It's like, no, he just time traveled back to see Jace. So certainly he can go back and see himself before he goes all crazy robot man, and then stops it. And then the other very, very obvious thing is just have Jace and Victor talk to each other. Like, they talk to each other. The whole third act doesn't happen if Victor just reads Jace's mind and sees that, oh, like, even if he didn't believe Jace could just be like, hey, I know you have mind reading powers because the future you would have told me that, because the future you's not a complete and utter moron, so just read my mind, and then Bob's your uncle. It's like, wow, I can't believe this is what's going to happen. I guess we better stop this before it gets out of control. And then the entire show doesn't happen. Well, the entire third act. doesn't happen. This is why the central plot point should have been Zorn versus Piltover. Like it was all set up in the season finale of season 1. And now we're doing this Victor thing, and it's like, it's so bad. More time would not have fixed that. I don't know how you fix that. If he can time travel, it's over. Or dimension travel, or whatever the hell. Dimensional time travel. If he can do that, it's over. And if Jace and Victor just talked to each other, it's over. There's such, maybe that's not even the glaringly obvious flaws in the story, that it's amazing to me that this got made at all. It's catastrophic. And then turning Echo into a Jinx simp, like, he was his own person in season 1 with his own, like, he had a community of people that he was like, and we see some of that in the beginning, and then it's like, no, now he just crushes on a girl who doesn't even know who he is. Like, you're crushing on a girl from another dimension, and you're crushing on Jinx from this dimension, who is not even close to the same person as that powder girl that you were crushing on in the other dimension. And then making Echo and Heimerdinger, like, Heimerdinger is just perfectly happy to steal the life of the other Heimerdinger in that other dimension, because for some stupid reason they thought it would be a good idea to have, whenever they travel into other dimensions, they take over the body. This is just for Echo and Heimerdinger. This doesn't apply to Jace. But whenever they travel to other dimensions, they take over the bodies, and I guess the consciousnesses, the Echo from that dimension and the Heimerdinger from that dimension. And Heimerdinger had been there for, what was it, like 3 years? And he was just perfectly fine to steal the life of that other Heimerdinger. And it's like, Echo is also thinking about doing the same thing so he can be with Jinx, because he starts crushing on Jinx. Or Powder in that universe. And it's like, this isn't your life, guys. You're stealing this from somebody else. And also, they wouldn't want to do that. Neither of them would want to stay there. They have people, like, and Echo has to remind Heimerdinger of this. Heimerdinger, what is he, like, 200-year-old being, has to be reminded, like, hey, there are people in that other dimension who need our help. While we're sitting here stealing the lives of 2 other people. Oh my gosh. So, completely character assassinating for Echo to suddenly just, like, care so deeply about Jinx when he gets back to this dimension, or his main dimension. Again, they tried to kill each other. That was the extent of their interactions from that dimension, was they tried to kill each other. Jinx is not Powder from this other dimension that he was in. That was a completely different person. Your journey in life, like, it's not 100%, but it is a big part of what shapes you as a person, your journey in life. Okay, the things that happen to you are a big part of what shapes you. It's not all of it, but it's a lot of it. So, it's just, like, if they had more time to tell that same story, I don't know how you make that better, just by having more time to make Echo a simp for Jinx. Like, it's so disappointing, because if you look at, what was this group called, like the Fireflies? Firelights? Something like that? They were the closest thing to the actually good faction. But if you looked at the 3 factions, Piltover, Zorn, Fireflies, they were the closest thing to actually being good. He had a sanctuary, it was a place for people to take shelter and like a community where people would look out for each other and keep each other safe from the tyranny of Piltover, the corruption of Zorn, right? Like, he was doing really good work there. Really important work. And it's just, by the end of the show, does any of that matter? No. All he cares about is Jinx now. And he's just all bummed out that she supposedly suicided herself, which, the fact that they didn't even have the balls to just let people think she died, they had to put in the frames where you can clearly see her escaping the explosion. Because they're like, no, don't worry. She's fine. She's perfectly fine. And we'll be back. Because we gotta market the hell out of that girl. She is insanely popular. And they're gonna turn her... I mean, well, they already have. But she's gonna pop up in literally every spin-off show. And just be lol so random Harley Quinn. Are you ready? Can you feel the excitement? Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun. And then Dracula Caitlyn and Vi. I'm just remembering this scene. The memes that came out of out of the show were pretty good with Caitlyn and Vi hooking up in the cell right after Jinx told Vi that she's gonna kill herself. It's like, oh no, we got to do this. She's like, oh no, my sister's about to kill herself. It's like, quick, do the sex with Caitlyn. It's like, that's the most important thing right now. It's not like you should try to run and stop your sister from killing herself. Or check and see if she's done it yet. Like, she said she was going to, but... I mean, you want to try... You don't even want to try to stop her? You just want to go straight to... It's like... No, and the cope is so pathetic, by the way. They're like, well, she thought she was already dead by then. It's like, you should still want to try. And don't even pretend for a second that if somebody you cared about said they were going to off themselves... You wouldn't try to stop them, even if you think they might have already done it. You would still go there, wherever they were, to try to stop them. So, don't lie to me. So yeah, I mean, that's just another major plot point that has got to change. Like, how is more writing... Well, I'll tell you. If she goes and tries to find... I guess that one more time could actually fix it. Because if Vi and Caitlyn immediately go to try to find Jinx, and then they can't find Jinx, and then Vi's all beating herself up, and then they do the sex. It's like, okay, that works. Especially right before the big war, it's like, yeah, you just probably think you're gonna die. It's like, so yeah, that is a situation where more time in the story, more time for the writing, would have actually improved it. Just more time. That's it. All you have to do is have her try to stop her sister from killing herself. That's it. And by the way, the person who does stop her is Echo. You remember that guy that the last time she saw him, she tried to kill the both of them together? Well, she does that again. Multiple times, and they play it off as a joke. This depressed, mentally unstable character is killing herself. This is really dark. And Echo's over here cracking wise about it. The more I think about it, the more frustrated I get. And that's something where I don't know that there is a amount of writing time or like time in the story that would make that okay. Like, even if Echo and Jinx were friends, are you really gonna crack jokes or like, make snarky comments while she is just completely lost it and just wants to kill herself and is like very set on doing it. And the only reason she can't successfully do it is because you got your little time travel gizmo. Whatever. Yeah. Very, very poor choice. So, the other big thing that people were talking about was the multiverse thing. And as I think I already established, it's stupid and it raises way more questions than answers. Like, what happened to the consciousnesses of the other Echo and Heimerdinger when they took them over? Are they like just floating out in space? And where are their original bodies? The original body of Echo and the original body of Heimerdinger, because they got portaled into the Arcane hex core thingy with Jace. Like, Jace got teleported to an alternate reality. He's not in, like, alternate Jace's body. He's in his own body. So where are Echo and Heimerdinger's bodies? And they never explain it. They're just floating out in the ether. And did they swap consciousnesses with that Echo and Heimerdinger? Are they in their respective bodies just floating out in space? And are they conscious? Because that would be terrifying. Could you imagine? Like, I wonder what the other Heimerdinger would be thinking, because he'd been floating out in space for like 3 years or something. And I don't know if they're floating out in space, but it's never explained where they are or what happened to them. And even when they get portaled back, they don't... Well, when Echo gets portaled back, because Heimerdinger just blows up. So we don't even get to find out what would have happened there. And we have no idea where they were. We have no idea what happened to them. And we get absolutely no answer on that. Why not just send Echo and Heimerdinger to that dimension, and then they can run into each other, and you can have all kinds of shenanigans with that? That would be super. And also, one of the things that's so irritating, and I hate when shows do this, is whenever somebody wakes up and they have like another life. This isn't exclusive to Arcane Season 2, but people do this crap all the time, and it pisses me off. They wake up in an alternate reality or timeline or whatever, and they say things. Like Echo is he says to Silco and Heimerdinger, he's like, didn't you guys try to kill each other? It's like, what the fuck, dude? Pardon my French, but seriously, what's your problem? Like, that is a very weird, uncanny thing to say, and he does this throughout the entire, his entire time there. He makes very rude comments. He blames that universe's Powder for getting Vi killed. And he's like, "Did you kill her?" And it's like, holy hell, dude. And the people don't react like he just said a horrifically transgressive thing. That is like, that should piss people off to no end. And Powder does get a little annoyed, but then gets over it like right away. She's not like, "What is wrong with you? Are you unwell? Or you need to go see a doctor or something." And most people just shrug it off, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we're besties now." Vander and Silco, it's like, oh. And Powder doesn't pick up on all the weird stuff that he's saying and be like, something's not right with you, or something's a little off. Maybe you need to take some time off. There's none of that. She just gets a little annoyed with him at one point, but they're so quick to dismiss all the weird stuff that he says. And like I said, this happens in multiple shows whenever people wake up in alternate realities or dimensions and stuff, and I hate it. A lot of the time, it's a sign of being in like a dream, where you'll say something that's completely out of place, and the dream will just, in an effort to maintain continuity with the scenario that's playing out, people will just kind of act the way that they're supposed to in the dream. Like, that's typically what it is. It's like a dream world or an illusion or something when people ignore very obviously transgressive things that you say. But no, they're supposed to be in another dimension where these people are real and have their own agency. Which begs the question, why are they not reacting like normal people to this crazy stuff that Echo is saying? So, the point is, I don't like any of that. I don't like the entire season. There's nothing to like about this season other than the cool visuals. They're super cool visuals. Even the soundtrack isn't good. Like, Goodbye at the end of episode 3 in season 1, that was such a stinger. Like, what a way to just, like, punctuate that. You had that song playing in the background while as the shot faded out. That was just, man. That was, I think for most people, that was the moment when I was like, oh, I'm going to like this. I'm really going to like this. And I'm like, well, maybe that was just episode 3. And then you see episode 4 and it's like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And then you've got What Could Have Been at the end, of course, which, by the way, people making references to season 1 when talking about season 2, What Could Have Been, or in the pursuit of great, we failed to do good. There's so many poignant references. What Could Have Been was an awesome song to punctuate the finale of season 1. And it is just a complete travesty that we had such an impressive, well put together show. And I see people in the comments being like, season 1 wasn't that great, it had problems too, it's just season 2 has more. Yes, season 1 had problems. As it happens, no season of any show is perfect. Okay? I really liked season 1. Warts and all. Okay? I really don't like... Season 2 is only warts, it seems like. There is nothing to like about it other than it's got neat visuals. I don't even know if I mentioned Warwick, just because he's not even in the show, right? I mean, I don't know who that weird mutated Vander is, but that's not Warwick. Okay, I've seen what Warwick's supposed to look like. That doesn't look anything like Warwick. So, I feel really bad for Warwick fans. I did have people ask me if I started this channel just because I was mad about Arcane and so I could complain about it. And the answer is yes. I have another YouTube channel where I just talk about like motorcycle stuff, but I haven't been this annoyed about a show in a long time. And now I know how to use YouTube, so I'm going to do what normal people do and make YouTube videos complain about things I don't like. But now I want to talk about what I thought was going to happen. What my expectations were post season 1 finale. And with the marketing material for season 2. I thought we were set up, and based on all the promo material, based on the finale, based on where everything was going, I thought we were set up for Savika taking Silco's place, taking control of the Undercity, Jinx kind of going rogue, and just attacking Piltover topside, Caitlyn getting driven by revenge to taking drastic measures against Zorn, and Mbessa probably sparking the overall conflict, because if we go right from the finale, I was expecting them, unfortunately, to have Jason Mel survive. And I thought Victor would survive anyway, just because of all the mutations and stuff that he's done to himself. I was like, I could see him surviving that blast realistically. But realistically, everyone else in the room should be dead. But they're probably gonna come up with some excuse for Jason Mel to survive. and they did. I was also expecting, based on the trailer footage, that with the whole them talking about the Arcane is waking up, I figured they're probably going to do a bigger Jaws type thing where, Zorn and Piltover are fighting with each other, but then, Jace and Victor accidentally unleashed something from the Arcane, and now they're going to have to join forces to fight this bigger threat. And that was probably going to, force people to set aside their differences. But I figured Mbessa would have, got the war going in a more practical way, before Caitlyn and Vi get back to topside to tell everyone, hey, this was just Jinx. It's they're already launching a counterattack. Mbessa is furious because Mel is either dead or in the hospital and not conscious, and the whole council has been taken out. There's nobody to vote, so whoever the secondaries in command were, Mbessa strongly urges them to launch an immediate counterattack against Zorn and disarm the populace and bring them to heel. And then you could even do something really something that's would be so much better than that stupid Memorial Day attack that she orchestrated that never materialized in anything, and that almost killed Jace, which was somebody she needed to help make Hextech weapons, which was her goal. She nearly got Jace killed. She was very, very close to Jace getting killed, which, another stupid thing. But don't do that. Stoke an attack, an immediate counterattack, because you don't know what's going on. That's what should have happened. What should have happened is she encourages whoever's in charge at the time, emergency backup people for council, whoever the seconds in command, next highest ranking people would be, and encourage all those people strongly to launch a counterattack against Zorn, because they're clearly attacking you, before Vi and Caitlyn can even get up there to stop them. And maybe they vote on it, and maybe they're starting an invasion just as Vi and Caitlyn are getting back. All the enforcers are getting ready to absolutely sack the Undercity, and they're racing to get to the council to tell them, no, it wasn't them, it was just a lone actor, blah blah blah. And they get there and nobody's there, but Mbessa's there, and Caitlyn starts telling, or maybe Caitlyn just gets there and Vi's kind of waiting around, and she tells him, don't launch the invasion, blah blah blah, and she's like, are you aware of what has happened to your mother, to my daughter? And then she can kind of Emperor Palpatine her in that fashion, and that would be really interesting, where and maybe she even does a kind of light kidnapping of Caitlyn to prevent her from stopping this invasion before it goes forward. And you could do a whole, this isn't the first time the Undercity has tried to attack Piltover, is it? Stuff like that. And you could have really interesting dialogue, and her preying on the fact that Caitlyn, in a practical way, that Caitlyn's feelings are fresh and raw, and she's devastated and maybe heavily distracted by, what happened with her mother, that Mbessa is able to keep her busy long enough to where they launch the invasion or the raid on the Undercity. And then it doesn't matter that Jinx was the primary party responsible. Now you've successfully pissed off all the top people down there, and they're going to rally against you. And then you've got that's how large scale conflicts happen all the time. You have misunderstandings here and there, somebody attacks somebody gets hurt, and it spirals out of control into a whole massive conflict. And all these various unaffiliated parties get pulled into it. That's like both the world wars right there. All these random people getting sucked into these greater conflicts. You could absolutely do that in a way that makes perfectly good sense without doing that stupid convoluted thing that they did. And that's what I was expecting. I was expecting them to do something like that. I was expecting the immediate aftermath of what happened. And then, maybe Victor is barely alive and he scrambles over to the Hex Core in a desperate attempt to, save his life, and maybe try to use it to resurrect Jace and Mel. Like, he sees they're both either dead or nearly dead, and he's like, I need to get this back. I need to use this to heal myself and get back to them and save them. Don't do the whole, God lowercase g Victor thing. That was not what I was expecting, and it was stupid. But yeah, I was expecting, and Jinx was going to be the primary villain, and it would have been interesting because you could have done like a mini version of the Bigger Jaws. I know you essentially do the Family Guy meme. You do Bigger Jaws, and then you do way bigger Jaws. The Arcane waking up is way bigger Jaws, and Savika and Jinx would be bigger Jaws. So Savika is like super pissed at Jinx for killing Silco, because that definitely would have got out, which it doesn't in Season 2, and that's retarded. It absolutely would have got out to everybody that Jinx killed Silco, and she's kind of the reason this whole war is happening. But she's kind of fighting on herself, and she's being an absolute rogue about it, and she's being chaotic and just like a crazy person, a crazy psycho murderer, like she is. And she's unorganized. She needs Savika to help her get more organized with her attacks, and Savika needs her help to harness the Hextech weapons, because the Hextech weapons are kicking their butts, and they do have Shimmer, and Shimmer helps quite a lot, but after they start replicating, and maybe they can't replicate the Hextech weapons as well as Jace while he's in his coma. And also, if he's in a coma or unconscious or something, the ladies can still get their daddy Jace or whatever with the beard and the long hair. He just wakes up from his coma with a beard and long hair, and there you go. It's like, now you got punished Jace. And yeah, he wakes up and he's absolutely furious, and it saves his character as well, because he's absolutely furious that they've taken his plans and now they're replicating Hextech weapons, but they're not as effective at harnessing the energy as he was, and so they're kind of rudimentary, but they're still way better than anything Zorn can produce. And they've got some of the Hextech gemstones, but the scientists in Zorn are not at all able to harness the Hextech technology, and so Savika knows that Jinx made Hextech weapons before, and they're getting their butts kicked, so she reluctantly, tries to come to Jinx for help, and that could be a whole, really interesting character thing where Savika, absolutely hates Jinx. Again, this is what I was expecting to happen. Is like, Savika's pissed off that she has to work with Jinx because Jinx killed Silco, but she has to work with her. Then she finally gets her on the same side. And the final confrontation between Jinx and Vi is like a season finale thing. Not like an episode 3 thing that's resolved in the dumbest possible way. Doesn't have to be that exactly, but I was certainly expecting something more approximating that, not this whole God Victor thing and just all the ridiculous nonsense. I was expecting a much more coherent story that was tracking a lot of the stuff set up in Season 1, and you can still do the whole war and bad thing, or violence is a cycle, or whatever they were trying to do. Just do it in a way that makes sense with the characters. Don't pretend that Savika would just never find out that Jinx killed Silco, or that, that wouldn't be like common knowledge. Like, Jinx, or Vi and Caitlyn would have absolutely told everybody that, regardless of whether or not they can stop the war, they would want to make clear to the people of the Undercity that the reason this war is happening is because of Jinx. Of course, the people of the Undercity, because Mbessa would have stoked that counterattack, it's like, yeah, Jinx may be the reason that the war started, but it's a whole lot bigger than that now. You guys overstepped in a massive way, and the people of the Undercity are not having it this time. So, it was a war over a terrorist attack, now it's a war of independence, basically. And Jace and Mel being out of the picture preventing cooler heads from prevailing there, and Caitlyn being consumed by the dark side of the Force and letting the hate flow through her and all that stuff. And then Vi, they kind of did the whole Vi is like, oh, shocked that Caitlyn's tactics are not so good, but they didn't do it well at all. And there needed to be more of a slow build to that, but they were speedrunning the season. They could have done all of this in the season, though. It would have still been rushed, but they absolutely could have done that in the season. The only thing is, Jinx wouldn't be a hero throughout the season. She would not be a good guy. And I don't think I didn't think that was something that they were going to do. Or if they were going to do that, it was going to be much like it was going to be in another spin-off show or another season. Like they said they weren't doing any more seasons, but I'm like, this is a very successful show. Maybe you want to think about it. But I don't know. That was kind of my rough expectations. Like I said, I was perfectly open to, various things. Here, I had zero expectations for season 1, and it impressed the heck out of me. But with the groundwork that they laid, with the marketing material, it seemed like they were heading in the direction of a, Zorn versus Piltover war. And just, it would have been very interesting to see how all the characters, I feel like they were, one of the final shots is Savika smoking one of Silco's cigars. I felt like that was the writers saying, yes, Savika is going to be the new Silco. And she's kind of, but not really. Like, she keeps trying to get people to rally behind her. And by the way, they're the whole Jinxer faction is so retarded. Why does anyone care? Why would you like Jinx? She's brought this whole conflict down on you. All this in the, granted it's a small scale invasion of the Undercity, but it should still irritate everyone that the Undercity's being gassed and people are being brutally tortured and interrogated by Caitlyn and imprisoned. It doesn't seem to bother anybody. It's like, if it did, why would you be cheering on the person who did it? I know, and they do this whole reluctant hero thing with Jinx. I know, not to get off in another tangent about just how ridiculous this season. It just feels like the more I think about it, the more things I come up with on just how ridiculous it all is. But that was my expectation for the season, going into the season, essentially. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.